Saad's weekly Cowboys recap coming on the air. Football dreams and Scranton scenes floating everywhere. From the field to the office, can't help but compare this week with my Cowboys. Ain't that just a pair?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Friday Recap here on the One Star Cowboys podcast. Always want to start out by first saying thank you for subscribing and for listening to myself, John Machota, KT, and Kent. I can speak for everyone when I say we all really appreciate it. Appreciate you listening, appreciate the support, the feedback, the interaction, all of that. You're probably accustomed to hearing John in this space on Fridays, but I'm filling in this week for him as the Cowboys get ready to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And a lot of people have been asking this week about what the morale is around the team, how they're kind of approaching this week against the Bucs with 3 games left in the regular season, playoffs chances by most models less than 1%, so it's looking very, very unlikely. So a lot of people wondering what the morale is like. And, you know, I've kind of had the same answer throughout, which is it's hard to judge what the morale will be when the game kicks off at 7:20 at AT&T Stadium on Sunday, because a lot can change between even now and then. Specifically speaking, what happens at noon in the nation's capital will probably dictate a lot of how the vibe is at AT&T Stadium, at least among the players, coaches, and front office when they take on the Bucs, because the Philadelphia Eagles are traveling to Washington, D.C. to take on the Commanders. If the Commanders do win, the Cowboys will be mathematically and officially eliminated from playoff contention. Right now, there is a, sliver of hope, if that's what you want to call it. It requires the Cowboys winning out and, Commanders slipping up somewhere and a lot of other scenarios that, we won't get into at least until next week if it does come to that. But first and foremost, they do need the Commanders to lose to the Philadelphia Eagles, which is not the tallest task to ask for, to be quite honest, as the Commanders are 0-4 this year so far against teams that are currently in the playoff picture. So they haven't done well against some of the top teams in the league, and they take on the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday at noon. If the Commanders win, the Cowboys are out. If the Eagles win, then the Cowboys will still mathematically be in play when they take the field to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. First of all, in terms of injuries, you had Micah Parsons, who missed Friday. Friday's practice was an estimation report. It was like a walkthrough. So Micah Parsons did not participate with an illness. I'd expect him to definitely play on Sunday as long as, it just kind of comes and goes in terms of whatever illness he is dealing with. He was not on the injury report all week. So there's that. Jalen Brooks is really the only player that's been ruled out as he's dealing with a knee issue. Everybody else on the injury report, Trayvon Diggs is technically still on the injury report, but as you probably know at this point, he is out for the season. Everybody else that is even listed on the injury report is listed as questionable, and I would say everyone has a decent chance to play. TJ Bass is one that kind of caught my attention a little bit as he was limited on Thursday, but then listed as DNP with his injury on Friday. So I do wonder if there was any bad reaction to Thursday's practice or, how he kind of came out of that. Because just as a quick note, Thursday was the Cowboys' last padded practice of the season. So it was a little bit more intense practice than usual. So I do wonder how TJ Bass came out of that. And it'll be interesting to monitor that because obviously TJ Bass has been filling in for Zach Martin, who is out for the season at right guard. However, the Cowboys could be getting some help on the interior offensive line as Cooper Beebe is out of concussion protocol officially, and he will be back in the mix. And so Cooper Beebe will be back in the mix at center. And Brock Hoffman, if TJ Bass can't go, then Brock Hoffman should be able to go at right guard if Bass is unavailable. But regardless of any playoff implications, this is a really good test for the Cowboys because we've seen Rico Dowdle finally find a groove. We've seen Mike McCarthy start to trust him more and give him the ball. Obviously, he's been stringing together 100-yard performances the last few weeks. But this is going to be a really good test because it's one thing to have a 100-yard performance against the Panthers, who are literally the last ranked rush defense in the NFL. Again, the New York Giants, second to last. So not to take anything away from Rico Dowdle, because obviously the Cowboys' running attack was really struggling all season. But this will be a really good test against a Buccaneers team that is a bit more formidable, and this will be a real game in the sense where you're going to have to keep up with the Buccaneers' offense. Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving has 100-yard games in 2 of the last 3 games, including a 152-yard performance and then 117 last week. I'm sure you may have heard at this point quite a bit that Bucky Irving was taken this past draft in the 4th round, the pick after the Cowboys would have had a selection had they kept their 4th round pick and not traded for Trey Lance. But yeah, so I think this will be a really good test for the Cowboys. I see this game a lot like the Bengals game, where I think this is a quality opponent. Obviously, the Buccaneers lead their division right now, and they're in a huge battle with the Falcons. They're just 1 game ahead of the Falcons at this point. And so the Buccaneers need to take care of business. Baker Mayfield is playing really well. The Buccaneers have won quite a few games in a row, so I do think that they are the better team than the Cowboys, but I don't think that it's going to be as lopsided as some may think, just because the Cowboys' defense is pretty solid. The thing that does scare me, though, is going up against a veteran quarterback, because the Cowboys have Deron Bland on one side at cornerback, and then they have Jordan Lewis in the slot. But that other side is very vulnerable. And if the Buccaneers did have Chris Godwin right now, it would be terrifying. But the fact that they don't, and they only have Mike Evans, I do wonder how much the Buccaneers offense is going to try to isolate Evans on a corner other than Bland or Lewis, and then Baker try to go in that direction. It'll be something to follow throughout the game. But overall, I think the Cowboys should have a competitive game against the Bucs. I don't think that they'll have enough. Weirdly, I have less confidence in them because they are at home. The only home win they have this year is the Giants on Thanksgiving. They struggled really badly early on in the season, obviously with losses to the Saints and the Eagles and the Ravens. They have been better recently, beating the Giants and then being very competitive with the Cincinnati Bengals. But regardless, I'll be really curious to see how the Cowboys come out in this game, especially if the Commanders do manage to pull off the upset and beat the Philadelphia Eagles at noon, because then it will be the Cowboys and the players knowing that the playoffs are out of the question. I know for a lot of fans and, even media and everybody else on the outside, when the Cowboys are in a position like they are right now, it feels like them being mathematically eliminated is just a formality. And I totally understand that. I'm kind of in the same boat, to be honest with you. But players and coaches don't really view it that way. They do really view it that, crazier things that have happened. And until it's over, it's not over. So right now, there was a lot of talk this week in the locker room about, hey, let's just go out there and handle our business against the Bucs. As long as the Eagles can win. Suddenly, you got the Commanders against the Falcons next week, and the Falcons could be ignited by the quarterback change, and maybe they win. And then all of a sudden, you could have a win-and-in situation in Week 18. Obviously, that's only counting the Commanders. The Cowboys also have to leap over a couple of NFC West teams as well, depending on what happens with Seattle, Arizona, and the Los Angeles Rams. So there is a lot going on. I don't really think the playoffs are really a realistic scenario, but I do know that is something that is driving the Cowboys right now. So if they do get eliminated at noon, I'll be curious to see how they approach the game Sunday night. But it will be a primetime game, something the Cowboys are used to. I do feel like they're set up to play well. They're getting healthier, and they do want to finish the season on a high note. As far as throughout the week in the locker room, honestly, the biggest story to come out of the locker room this week was Micah Parsons and his comments about his contract extension, or, what he's looking for in his next deal. And right now he's talking about, how he doesn't need top dollar. He doesn't want to hold out during training camp. And we'll surely break all of those comments down as a crew later in the week, or, possibly next week and into the offseason. That's obviously a topic that will loom large over the Cowboys after the season into March and April. So that's something we'll discuss quite a bit, but that was the biggest story to come out of the locker room this week. But please enjoy the game. Hope everyone is having a wonderful holiday season, and definitely join us after the game when we'll break down whatever goes on Sunday, from the Commanders and Eagles game, the Cowboys-Bucs, and then we'll move forward from there. But thank you guys for listening and supporting. Tell your friends to subscribe to the One Star Cowboys podcast, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thursday night predictions, analyst debate. Will our Cowboys make it to the football game? Angela's got a cat. Toby looks so bored. I keep my hopes high. Touchdowns, I'm sure. Saad's weekly Cowboys recap coming on the air. Football dreams and Scranton scenes floating everywhere. From the field to the office, can't help but compare this week with my Cowboys. Ain't that just a pair?